What the Mum podcast. My name is Maria Newman and I will be your host. Every mum to be knows that as soon as she becomes a mum, her world will change forever. Everyone is keen to give you advice based on their own experiences. Other mums delight in sharing their horror stories so that new mums are better prepared for what might happen. The lack of sleep, feeling exhausted most of the time, living in bodies with even more wobbly bits and never having any privacy. But everyone's story is unique. Everyone's experience is personal. On this podcast, I will be sharing real stories told by mums like you and I about their experience of motherhood and how life changes when you become a mum. This podcast is about showing you that you're not alone. We may not be in the same boat, but we are experiencing a similar storm. I hope these stories will inspire you to do what you want, be who you want to be. Anything is possible if you really want it and if it is really important to you. If you want to find out more about me and who I am, check out my website, mummyinabreak.co.uk. However, for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this podcast episode. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. During this podcast series, I will be interviewing 6 awesome women who will be sharing with us their mum stories. My guest today is Lauren Malone, who helps business owners reach their financial dreams and potential by breaking down their mindset blocks. But she's also a mum who has successfully built her own business and is balancing life. Thanks, Lauren, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, the big question, who is Lauren Malone?
Do you know what? That is such a big question, isn't it? I love it because I think there's so much that makes up who I am. You know, I'm Lauren, business owner, and as you mentioned, I help people in business get over their mindset blocks. But then there's Lauren mum, who has 2 amazing children. I've got Oak, who is 3 and a bit, and Hero, who is coming up to 11 months. And then there's Lauren wife, who has passions, who has romance, who has all of those things. And then there's Lauren, who's a friend and has friendships. And there's Lauren the daughter, and there's Lauren, all of these sort of aspects who make up who I am. But in a nutshell, I'm somebody who cares very deeply about compassion, and that's self-compassion as well as compassion to others. I believe in abundance, in excess, and I believe that we can all embrace abundance. It's something I'm really, really passionate about, particularly in my role in my business, but also in me as a mum. And I think we'll probably be talking about this, but this idea of, once you're a mum, you can't have certain things. No, I don't sign up for that. I am absolutely someone who believes you can absolutely have it all, you can balance it all in a way that really works for you, in a compassionate way. And it's not about what other people are doing, it's about what you're doing. And so that, I suppose, is what encompasses me and all of those different parts of who I am. And
on that note, I'd like to say, woo! Yes. Oh my goodness.
I thought you would.
So, did you always know that you wanted to be a mum?
My mum says I did. Really interesting. My mum tells me, she says it quite a lot, you always said about you wanted to be a mum, you were always going to be a mum. I don't really remember that. I imagine I might have mentioned it. I definitely grew up in a time when it was expected. Young girls, you grow up, you get married, you have children. And I do remember a point in my 20s going, uh-oh, I've kind of missed it. What's going on? Terrible message that we used to give young girls, young women. But yes, I think deep down I did always want to be a mum. And when the time came, it was very much that naturally this is the next step.
I love that. It's funny, isn't it? Because I think you're sort of on, I don't think there's necessarily a scale, but I think you either know just instinctively that you want to be a mum, or you probably don't want to be a mum. I think there are very few people, although I do know of one person that will start off saying, I don't want to be a mum, and then change their mind, and vice versa. I think it's very much you either do want to or you don't want to.
Yeah, I think I was very much like, I do want to. I don't remember ever consciously having that, oh my goodness, it's the only thing. I said it was never the only thing I wanted, but it was just, yeah, that's going to happen one day. We'll see when the time comes.
So your mum journey is really quite interesting, mainly because it's like entangled in your work journey as
Yeah.
well. So tell us the story of that twisting,
Yeah,
joining together.
yeah, I love that, and it is. It's very much. It's almost like roots clambering
Yeah.
around each other. So I decided in well, my partner, my husband Luke, and I decided in 2018, which is when we got married, that we would like to start a family at some point in the future. So I came off the pill and was just like, what will be, will be. We'll see what happens. As I'm sure so many people can relate to that. You know, when you're first sort of embarking on that part of the journey, you sort of go, well, let's just wait and see before we start panicking about anything. Let's just wait and see to see what happens. And also at that time, it's really important as part of this story, I was actually suffering with an eating disorder. And while I wasn't very, very ill, I'd been very ill before, but I wasn't very, very ill, but it was still part of my mindset. It was still part of my habits. And that was sort of going on in the background. I didn't realize really how these things were all interlinked. And I was also in a 12-month contract, an employed 12-month contract. Not very happily employed in a 12-month contract, I should say. And so, but part of that contract offered me some training, and I went to train in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, timeline therapy, hypnosis, and get my coaching qualifications. So I've been doing lots of coaching for a really long time in previous employed roles, but it was then that I got my coaching qualification. So this is now we're moving into early 2019. And that process of learning also was a process of healing and a process of complete growth for me. I went from eating disorder to what I would class as cured. I do not suffer with those limiting behaviors, but also those limiting thoughts that were really damaging for me. So that instantly was like transformational. And I also went from, I don't know if I can start a business, like, am I good enough to do that? Am I too late to do that? Again, why are we giving these messages to young women that they might be too late when they're in their early 30s is bonkers. But how would a business fit in with if I do have a child, because we are trying. I'd gone through a few months of, doing the sort of 2-week wait of like, will I get a period? Will I not get a period? And then, yeah, I got my periods. I'd had those sort of couple of months of disappointments. And then, yeah, I sort of went through this transformation of, yeah, of course I can start my business. And I was like completely convinced. I was like, I'm starting my business and it's going to be this year. I'm doing this 12-month contract. I'll finish it. That finishes in September. Perfect. Gives me time to, about 8 months this was. It was gives me about 8 months to, get a website sorted and choose my business name and all those really exciting things that you want to do when you start a business. And then a week later, I found out I was pregnant with my first child. And I 100% believe that the mindset shifts that I did in that week contributed to getting pregnant when I did get pregnant. I believe that my body said, okay, you're not damaging yourself anymore physically or mentally, and you're now ready for this physical and mental journey. I just believe that it was the timing, just said, you can do this. You're at this point where you are 100% believing in yourself. Cool, let's go for it. Put it out to the universe. Let's have it. I looked at the timings. I was like, right, well, baby's due in October. Due to finish this job in September. Due to start the business. No, that's not going to work. So I just quit my job and started. And here we are 4 years later.
And I love the fact that I think if you're not in the right mindset, you could have made a different decision, which is, I'll wait.
Yeah.
But because you'd already had that conversation with yourself, you decided, right, this is what I want to do. Why am I waiting?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
just do
100%.
it.
And I knew it was the right thing to do. I was like, I feel like I'm being told right now, the timing is telling me it's now, right? Not now or never. I hate that phrase. I never buy into that. But for me, it was something, it was the signs were saying, go for it
Mm.
because you're going to be okay. And I actually Googled starting a business when pregnant, because Google has all the answers, doesn't
Oh,
it?
yes, it obviously.
Well, apparently it
Most of
doesn't,
them.
because the answers I got
Some.
were don't do it, it's
Uh,
too hard, you'll be crazy for even trying, you're definitely going to fail, and even you'll be a bad mum for trying. Um, and it was actually reading that comment that made me go, do you know what? No,
mm,
quitting my job, I'm going to be, not only am I going to do it, I'm going to be part of the voice and part of the conversation that helps other women not necessarily do exactly what I've done, but do whatever it is that they want to do
mm,
alongside motherhood, alongside entrepreneurship, alongside whatever it is that drives them. It just became an absolute passion. And I was angry, but I used that and it just, rah, yeah, love
and
it.
I think probably when we ask questions, when we put questions out there, it's
Yeah,
making sure that we put the question in the right place. So
yeah,
I think if we ask the internet, whichever search engine you decide to use, I think
of
we're more
course.
likely going to come back, it's going to come back with probably a negative response,
Yeah,
because I think the algorithms, more people will go down that rabbit hole of, oh no, but why shouldn't I do something?
yeah, yeah,
As opposed to why should I do something? And this is, I think it's the same with the people who we surround ourselves with and who we have that
yeah,
conversation with. So I think it's being aware of who we're asking the question, not
yeah, absolutely.
and in life. I loved what you said about you knew you were in the right place and it was your time,
Yeah,
because our brain, like our brain is so powerful and we don't exploit how powerful it is. And if we're focusing on the negative aspects, then that's what we're going to bring into our life.
yeah, yeah,
Negativity is just going to hit us in the face
yeah,
on all fronts.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas if we put on our big girls' pants, find the courage within and go, do you know what? This is possible. I can do it. It is going to happen. Don't be surprised when, like you said, it all happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it really does. And it is just about changing that focus and allowing your brain to filter the information in a way that serves you. And
Mm.
I totally agree with you about who we ask, whether it's online or whether it's, friends or family or that kind of thing. And I always say to people, like, don't let other people's limiting beliefs become your limiting beliefs. Because if you're asking somebody who's never started a business, who's never had a baby, who's never done this, then there's a good chance they're going to go, "Ooh, like I know I wouldn't do that." Particularly if they haven't done them all at the same time.
Yeah.
My parents were like, "Whoa, are you sure?" Like, and it's all like well intended. Like, no one was saying like friends and family. I mean, no one was like being horrible. No one was trying to bring me down. They were scared for me. They didn't want me to fail. They didn't want me to be hurt. They knew more than I did because I'd never been pregnant before. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. They knew. My mum knew. She was like, "I've been pregnant. It's not actually the easiest thing in the whole wide world. I've had a newborn." She'd never started a business, but she'd done it with a career, and it had been very challenging. And I actually, I'm sure we'll talk about the fact that I wrote a book about all of this. But my mum's story is like this sort of prologue or whatever it's called in the book. And she had to go back to work because she wanted her career, and she was forced back to work 2 weeks after I was born. And she was very heavily criticised by teachers, by other mums and dads at the school, but even me. I even criticised her, which is really quite sad now I know her story. But yeah, you just take these stories from people, but you've got to learn to trust your intuition, trust what works for you. If you feel like it's right and you believe that you can do it, which you can, then you will.
Exactly. And I think I just picking up on 2 points that you've said. The first one is that the people who you're talking to are seeing life through their lens, which is
Yes.
a combination of their experiences, the people they've had interactions with, their own fears for the future and how they view life. And then on the other hand, it's something that for whatever reason, it takes practice to get to, but we do need to trust ourselves
Yeah.
because inside
Yeah.
we know the answer to the
Yeah.
questions that we're asking. We're just externally asking
Yeah.
them as a way of validating actually what we already know,
Yeah.
which is crazy, isn't
Completely.
it? And we,
Yeah.
we are more wise than we give ourselves credit
We
for.
really are, and it's something. And so, if you think about those answers, those inner, we know the answers inside. You know, if you think about that, it's like it's your unconscious mind that's always there to drive you, to help you. It wants the best for you, but sometimes consciously we're thinking something completely different. We're like talking two different languages to ourselves. And something I do with my clients quite a lot is these sort of deep meditations where we actually go and meet your unconscious mind, and you sort of go up to your unconscious mind and have a hug, and really connect and ask those questions and listen to the responses, almost like you're talking to a different person. But it gives you that space to go, well, if someone's saying this to me and that person's me,
Mm,
and I know I can trust them,
yeah.
that kind of practice is really important.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So you did mention the book.
I did mention it.
Tell me more about the book.
Yeah, so like I said, so I did this online search, and I was like, this can't possibly be what people are saying. I decided I was going to do it, and I decided I was going to be part of the change. And I knew right then, I was like, I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be called The Expecting Entrepreneur, and it's going to be all about starting a business while pregnant. That's all I knew, because I didn't know anything about being pregnant at this point, really. So I was about 8 weeks in, so I didn't really know. Like I just noticed, and then I didn't know anything about starting a business because I'd literally just quit my job and sort of gone on Company's House and set one up, and I knew it was going to be what people would get instead. I then focused on actually running a business and actually, can I make it work and all those kind of things, and being pregnant at the same time. So I did all that, and I made notes, and I still didn't quite know what the book was going to be. And then, so my son was born in October 2019, and I started writing in January 2020. The book was published in October 2020, so just before Oak's first birthday, and it ended up being about the stuff I love, which is the mindset of it all. So I talk a lot about setting goals. So a lot of this is relevant whether you're pregnant or not, and you're just setting up a business or you want to achieve something. But I do it with the sort of the lens. I love that phrase that you used earlier, like the lens of that experience and actually how similar they are, but also with this huge dose of like self-compassion.
Yeah.
Because when you start a business, one of the first things you start sort of being bombarded with is how amazing everyone else who's running their business is.
Yes.
And on one hand, brilliant, because you get inspiration and it's great evidence. If someone else has done it, brilliant, I can do it too. But you are sort of trying to think, well, how did they get so far ahead? I can't quite see how I'm going to get there. And what I always described my pregnancy with Oak as was a little bit like the crocodile in Peter Pan. You know how it follows Captain Hook around going tick tock, and that's what it was. It was like my belly was going tick tock, getting bigger and bigger. And I was like, well, I want to make a business successful, and I've kind of given myself a deadline, and that worked really, really well for me. But I had to come back to that self-compassion. I had to come back to like, this is happening physically, mentally, emotionally. All of these things are going on as well as this business, and that's okay, and not compare myself.
And I think that's a great lesson in life, to show ourselves more self-compassion, because I think the way we can sometimes talk to ourselves, you wouldn't say those things to
No,
your friends.
no,
I mean, if you literally just, that's what I sometimes suggest to my clients. When you're saying those things to yourself, say them out loud
yeah,
as if you're saying them to someone else, and because it makes more of an impact if
yeah,
you get things out
yeah,
there,
yeah,
because you
absolutely.
wouldn't. And so
Okay.
it's about, but I was about to say something else, but that inner voice
Yeah,
offers you clues to how
yes,
you're feeling. So we shouldn't
yeah,
ignore what's being said,
Totally, totally agree.
because that then obviously
Mm.
leads to worse things because you're
Yeah,
just suppressing it, and then and at some point it'll just
yeah,
explode. So
yeah,
self-compassion is so important, especially mums, because I
yeah,
think out between mums and everybody else, I think as mums we can be our own worst enemies when it
yeah,
comes to showing ourselves a bit of self-compassion and just letting ourselves off the hook.
yeah,
Yes, we are going to have horrible days. We are going to have days where we think, oh my goodness, everything has gone wrong today. We are going to have days where we look at our children who want our help and we won't have the answers. But
yeah,
we're not like some kind of oracle who has the answers to everything. We are not perfection. We
yeah,
are wonderful, imperfect human beings who just
yeah.
need a bit of love and attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And it's interesting you said that about the sort of that inner negative voice and actually listening to that as well. We see, so I just want to shut my inner critic up, and you see these rhetoric. It's like, no, no, no. Imagine if someone came up to you and even if they were saying something horrible, right? Which is normally what the inner critic is saying, but you just started shouting shut up at them, they're not going to shut up. They might punch you in the nose. They might do some actual harm to you, especially if they're in that sort of aggressive place already.
Yeah.
Think of that in the same way. If you try and tell your inner critic to shut up, you're likely to, it's just going to shout out louder, and it might actually cause some physical damage as it does. That's where stress comes from, the hormones and all that sort of neuro stuff that's going on at the same time. So it's really, really important to actually go, what are you saying here? You know, okay, I hear you. I hear you. You're trying to protect me from harm. I'm not enjoying what you're saying. Let's hear another point of view.
Yeah.
And then allow the good friend, or whatever you want to call it, the kind, self-compassionate voice to come in as well. And I'm really glad you pointed that out, that we're not trying to tell it to shut up.
No, 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 no. Because, like you said, the consequences, you might not see them immediately, but there are consequences
Yeah,
to trying to silence that voice.
yeah, absolutely.
So going back to you,
Uh,
um, what is the best advice anyone has given you, either from a mum being a mum or in business?
I think, well, this relates to both, but it was actually a mum piece of advice, and it was on like an affirmation card, or something that someone gave me at my baby shower, and it said, "There's no such thing as a perfect mum." And I just remember being, because I'd actually spent a lot of time like looking around at all these other pregnant women who seemed to just be nailing it. And they're like, "Oh, I feel a bit like, sore." I'm not glowing. I'm not sure. My husband says I was glowing. My friend said I was glowing, but I wasn't sure. But and then I also saw mums who just seemed to be getting it.
Mm.
And I still do. Like, and I look at these women and I'm like, "You're amazing." Like, oh my goodness. And then I'm like, hold on. They don't know anything that I don't know. We're all just doing our best. And there's no such thing as perfect.
Mm.
And there's the same thing. There's no such thing as a perfect business owner. Like, you'll make mistakes. If you can be compassionate to yourself, and if you're doing things with the right heart and the right intent, whatever it is in life, but with being a mum, then that's for the best.
But there's also so much gold in actually making a mistake.
Yeah.
I think that's what we forget. We think
Mhm.
because, through socialization, we've been brainwashed into thinking that a mistake is a bad thing,
Yeah.
when actually a mistake is amazing as long as you learn from
Yeah, absolutely.
it.
I agree.
It could teach you so much about you, about the situation, about actually the path that you're on.
Mhm. Yeah, no, 100%. And
It's like what you
that's the
said
beauty
about
of life,
switching the
isn't it?
mindset.
It's
Yeah.
we're all learning, no one knows it all, you know. Even people with, I look to people, I'm like, oh, well, they've got more kids than me, so they must know more, or No, it's not necessarily true. We're all just managing with what we've got, and everyone's situation is completely unique.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, there's no sort of one size fits all to what it's like to be a mum, because some people have to go back to work. Some people's partners have to go away for work. Some people choose for partners to stay at home and they have to go. And there's all these different challenges and all these different scenarios, and there's no right or wrong. It's about what works for you.
So based on that advice that you were given, if we could rewind time
Yeah.
and see you just before you started your business and you had Oak, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Ooh.
Massive,
Good
massive
one.
question.
Do you know what? I think I would give myself the advice of never forget how important your mindset is. So, if we think back to that sort of when I first found out I was pregnant and I was just going through I'd gone through this amazing transition, and I was just like, wow, I'm cured from my eating disorder. I'm like so positive. I'm pregnant. I'm starting a business. This is fantastic. Off I go. What I sort of failed to acknowledge at that point was, whoa, sometimes you're going to have a bad day.
Mm.
Right. And this is what's really, really important when it comes to mindset stuff and positive thinking and all that kind of thing, is it can sort of seep into sort of toxic positivity where you're not allowed to have a bad day. And when I did have a bad day, I suddenly went, oh, what? Oh my gosh, I'm doing it all wrong. And no, not at all. Mindset work is a continuous development process. Things will come up, things will challenge you, and it's okay to go, do you know what? Today's just not the best day I've ever had, but it's just a day. It might be a week, it might be a month, it might be whatever, but it's just that moment in time, and we can move forward. And I talk about it in the book about the importance of practicing mindfulness and making a sort of daily practice of just being in the moment. And whether that's a good moment or a not so good moment, just be with it, sit with it, feel it, learn from it, and move forward.
That's great advice. Really good advice, because we will have ups and downs, and we have ups and downs for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not just something to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was such a good place. And then when Oak was about 10 months old, so when he was 3 months, we went into the first lockdown from COVID. And then when he was 10 months, I'd been writing this book, I'd been doing a lot, as well as looking after a newborn, as well as managing COVID and all those things that was a lot for all of us. And I just had an awful, awful couple of months. I just went absolutely downhill, possibly linked to postnatal depression, but I was definitely very, very down on myself. And I really, really struggled, particularly with the imposter syndrome of, oh my goodness, how can I talk to people about mindset and be struggling with my mindset?
Yeah.
But I went and got some help. I talked to somebody, because actually it wasn't just about talking to a coach or talking to a therapist. It was talking to other mums in completely different situations to me, who just went, yeah, do you know what? It's actually really hard. And it's okay to say that. It's okay not to be perfect mum, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't. Oh, so we are coming to the end of our episode together, but I have 2 questions for you before we go. The first one is, what 3 things would you like everyone to take away from this conversation today?
They can do it. So really, really important. Your possibilities are completely unlimited, and whatever it is you want for your life, your dreams, then it is possible. That's the most important thing. Second thing is, you're doing a great job right now, wherever you are, at whatever stage you are. Very quickly, we can get excited about the things we want. I talk a lot about goals. I talk about a lot about dreams. But right now, you're absolutely smashing it, Mama. You're doing brilliantly. And the third thing, oh my goodness, haven't thought of a third thing. I know. Okay, there's your third thing. Don't worry, if you haven't thought of a third thing, you're perfect just the way you are. You're allowed to make mistakes.
Oh, I love it. And finally, before we do end this conversation, there will be people listening who will be saying, I need to find out how I connect with Lauren. Make it easy for them. How can others connect with you?
Well, find me on Instagram. That's probably the easiest place. I'm at lauren.malone.coaching.
Easy. Oh, Lauren, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for sharing your story and being so open.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're an absolute queen, and it's amazing that you're being part of this as well, and I love it. I love that we're having these conversations and hopefully inspiring people. And if anyone has any questions about my story or just wants to share what they're up to, I'd love to hear it as well.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast episode, and if you did, then of course please share it with other mums. I have lots more resources for you that will help you on your journey through life. Just visit my website to access them, which is mummyonabreak.co.uk. You can also find out details about my book, Busy. Take care and see you the next time.